Well, we're here with Warren Williams. The question I want to ask you, Warren, is your views on personal trainers because a lot of people that I know are training, have been training with their personal trainers for years, and the results aren't evident. You can't see the results. Some of them may lose weight, but they're not healthy.
Mm.
Some of them just don't lose nothing. Some of them are still stressed out, but overall, it doesn't seem they're getting value for money.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that's kind of interesting because you got one of the things I always say we call them kind of rent-a-cop personal trainers because it's kind of like a conveyor belt of personal trainers that coming out of universities and out of all these fitness schools. And it's like one of the things I always say to you that most of the personal trainers they bank, I mean literally financially bank on the fact that the people they're training don't know enough about training and anatomy and physiology to know that the personal trainers they're training with don't even know that much in the first place. So they're banking financially on the fact that their clients don't really know that much. So they don't do assessments, they don't do postural assessments, they don't do spinal assessments, they don't do proper nutritional assessments, lifestyle assessments, or any of these sort of things before they even get started with their clients. And like my coach Paul Check, well-renowned coach Paul Check always says, if you're not assessing, you're guessing. So first of all, these people are not being assessed. So that's the main problem in the first place. They're just not being assessed, and from then the personal trainers are just training them on most of the time they train them on exercises they like. So if you see a personal trainer who likes doing squats, their clients are going to be doing squats because that's an exercise they like. But they don't individualize. They don't say, okay, you've got a spinal problem. Right, so we can't get you to do any axial loading, which is where you put weight on your back, um, or weight on the shoulders. They don't do things like that. They don't say, okay, you've got a knee problem, so we're going to avoid squatting and get you to do hamstring curls or something to strengthen the muscle. They don't assess their shoulders and say, right, your shoulders are too tight. Let's do some stretching for the shoulders or anything like that. All they say is, uh, what do you want to look like? I want to have a flat stomach. I want to have a six pack, whatever. But they don't actually assess what that person needs first, and that's the main thing. Find out what they need and then work on what they want after.
So basically, you're saying most of these personal trainers are actually quite crap.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not that hard to actually get a certificate to become a personal trainer at the moment.
yeah, yeah. It's. I remember when I did my basic personal trainer course, MBQ level 2 course in personal training, um, about 12 years ago. So I remember the woman that did the course. She said, and I quote her. She said, "If you don't pass this course, you're an idiot. It's that easy because the goal is to get people through the courses. And I'm not saying NVQ isn't a good standard qualification. What I'm saying is it's a foundation from which to work from. So it's like if you went to a doctor, if a doctor said he had an NVQ level 2 in medicine, and you had to have brain surgery, you would not go to him because you think, okay, that's a good qualification for a start, but you need to build on it. You need to have multiple degrees or whatever. So you trust a doctor based on the fact that doctors have been studying for 7 years, but personal trainers, they do courses that last like 2 months. Some courses are even 2 weekends, and you're actually, you're sacrificing your body to that personal trainer, and you're hoping that personal trainer knows what the heck they're talking about. But like I said, most of the time, you don't know enough about exercise to know that the personal trainer doesn't know what they're talking about.
So would you say that some of these personal trainers are actually dangerous because of the exercise they're prescribing to their clients? Is there a danger in it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good question. Definitely. It's like if you go to the doctors before they prescribe you medicine, they always say, have you got this allergy or that allergy? You have to fill out a form. You've got over-the-counter medicine, but then you've got prescription drugs, like when you use the word prescription, you've got prescription drugs, but they have to make sure that you don't have any allergies before they give you the drugs. But personal trainers aren't doing that. They're prescribing drugs, which is exercise. Exercise is a drug. If you give the wrong drug or exercise to the client, then you're going to have the wrong effect. So like I was saying as an example, let's say, because statistically, 85% of all people that are going through personal training have back injuries. So if the personal trainer isn't assessing them, then and they say, oh, let's get you to do some heavy deadlifting, and they don't even know that the client's got a back injury, and most of the time it's an undiagnosed back injury, then they can have a back problem, so they can cause more harm, and that's the problem. These trainers are not assessing people, and the clients don't know enough to tell them such.
And I mean, I've been in the gym and I've seen personal trainers with printouts from the internet of exercises.
Yeah.
Generally exercises doing on machines, and I've seen the clients working looking boring. I know you're very much into functional exercise, so what's your view on those PTs that actually just work from a manual?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. It's like the problem. See, the thing is, the problem with machines have their place, and I'll get to that in a second. But functional exercise. Let's first of all talk about what functional exercise is. Functional exercise is anything where you have to control your own base of support. Your own center of gravity has to be controlled by your own muscles. So, an example of life, when you're walking down the road, if you walk on an unstable pavement, the pavement slab kind of moves, and you have to kind of rebalance yourself or reset yourself. That's you controlling your own balance or your own base of support. Another example is if you're walking, when it's snowing, like it does a lot in England, and it's snowing and it's icy on the roads, you're so aware of the ice that when you plant your feet, your body awareness increases because you think, boy, if I slip, I can hurt myself. That's functional. So functional exercises are anything that challenges your base of support, anything that throws you off balance to the point where you're really nervous that you could hurt yourself and you're aware. And that improves activation of all the muscles in your body that protect you from injury. So that stimulates the brain, so it's far more exciting. But like we were saying, machine training, the machines are bolted to the floor, so there's no stabilization needed at all. And when we say stabilization, we're talking about being able to balance the body. There's no stabilization needed at any point. So you're safe, and because you're safe, most of the muscles are shut down. And even from a calorie point of view, when people want to talk about burning calories, when you're working out on a machine, because the machine's isolated, fixed, controlled, you're only using about 3 to 6 muscles per machine, versus if you're working out on a Swiss ball, which is those big blue or gold or whatever colored inflatable balls, they are so hard to work on that you're working about 200 muscles per exercise. So what would you rather do? Use 3 to 6 muscles per exercise or 200 muscles per exercise? So if 200 muscles are being worked, that's 200 more muscles that are burning more calories. So even from a calorie point of view, it's far more beneficial. So if you're working out with a personal trainer on machines, or like you said, from a magazine, that you're not getting your money's worth. If they're charging you 25, 35, 45 pound an hour because they've got a fancy clipboard and a gold pen, and they're wearing fancy trainers and a nicely pressed shirt, that don't mean nothing. All that means is you're buying into the image of a personal trainer, not the knowledge of the personal trainer. So any of those personal trainers that train people on machines, they're not giving you just the higher level of service because you're working far less calories, burning far less calories, I should say, and working far less muscles, and it's not challenging you mentally or emotionally.
Very interesting. So I've spoken with 1 or 2 of your clients, and I've asked them what kind of stuff do you do, and they just said it's never the same. There's never no schedule weight. It's always different pieces of apparatus, different sets. They said that's what keeps them coming back, because they never know what to expect, and they always get challenged. They said they've been trained. Some of them trained with you for 5 years, and they said the first session was as hard as the last session, so it never changes. It's always hard because they feel like they're always being challenged. What would you say on that?
Yeah, no, I think for me, it's like I'd be bored by training if I was doing the same thing all the time. And in a sense, I have to give credit to some of these people that go to the gyms and they're doing the same thing day in, day out. I'm like, you know what? I admire your dedication, because what you're doing is boring. So I have to give them credit for that. That takes a hell of a lot of discipline to be able to keep that same monotony going. But for me, if I'm training, I want it to stimulate me emotionally, mentally, physically. And so I make sure the training is so smart, because one of my favorite sayings is train smarter, not harder. So you have a lot of people that train hard, but they don't train smart, and the muscles are smart, so you have to train smart. So yeah, we use things like the Swiss ball, which I spoke about a little while ago, which challenges your nervous